In this video, we are going to review some of the basics of factoring. The first type of factoring we want to look at is common factoring. What you want to do here is look for something that will divide into each term. For example, the general equation ax plus ay has a common in both terms. So we can factor out an a to get a times x plus y. First example then, 3x squared plus 6x. Both terms have a 3x in common. This will then factor to 3x times x plus 2. The second one, in both terms, this x plus 3 is common. Factoring that out then, we'd be left with x plus 3, and then left over we have x minus 2. A difference of squares you're going to recognize by the pattern x squared minus y squared. This is going to factor to x minus y times x plus y. The first one, we should have x squared minus 81. This is going to factor to x minus square root of 81 is 9 times x plus 9. And the next one, 4a squared, the square root of that is 2a. We're going to have 2a minus the square root of 9b squared is 3b. 2a minus 3b times 2a plus 3b. The last one then, square root of 9 is 3. We're going to have 3 minus square root of this term is just going to be x minus 2 times 3 plus x minus 2. If you have something like this, keep the brackets there because we need to simplify this equation now, and you need to distribute the negative sign or the positive sign through the bracket. This then is going to simplify to 3 minus x plus 2 times 3 plus x minus 2. Simplifying further, 3 plus 2 gives us 5, be 5 minus x, 3 minus 2 is 1, 1 plus x. Quadratics of the form x squared plus bx plus c. What we want to do is find factors of c, so two numbers that multiply to give you c that will add up to give you b. The first one then, x squared plus 3x minus 40. 8 times negative 5 is going to give us negative 40, and 8 minus 5 is going to give us plus 3. This will then factor to 8x plus 8 times x minus 5. Next one, two factors that multiply to give us negative 24 is going to be negative 12 and plus 2. And those two terms, if we add them together, give us negative 10. This is going to factor then to x minus 12 times x plus 2. The last one, don't be scared of these when they're listed as an x to the 4, because really if we rewrite this, this is the same as saying x squared all squared minus 6 times x squared plus 9. So this looks like now, if we rewrite it this way, the same form as our general equation. We need two factors then that multiply to give us 9 and add to give us negative 6. That would be negative 3 and negative 3. This will then factor to x squared minus 3 times x squared minus 3. And since these are the same, that's the same as saying x squared minus 3 all squared. The next type are the form of quadratics where you have a number in front of your x squared. So for this, what you're looking for is factors that when you multiply a and c together, that will be your factors that need to add up to give you your b value. And for example, in this one here, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. So we need factors that will give us negative 6 and that are going to add up to plus 5. Two factors then would be plus 6 and minus 1. We're going to write these out then as 3x squared, and we're going to break up this middle term here, 5x, into plus 6x minus 1x minus 2. We now want to factor by grouping, so we're going to look at these two terms together and then these two terms together. From these two terms, we could factor out a 3x. We'd be left with x plus 2. And then from these two terms, we could factor out a negative 1, and we'd be left with x plus 2. We now have two factors in common between our two terms, x plus 2, and we're left with 3x minus 1. Our second example, we need factors that multiply to give us negative 24 and add to give us negative 5. So two factors there would be negative 8 and plus 3. Breaking this down then, we'd have 6x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 4. Grouping out of these two terms, we've got a 2x common. We'd be left with 3x minus 4. The only thing common between them is 1, so we're left with a 3x minus 4. And then grouping our common terms, we'd have 3x minus 4, and we have 2x plus 1 left over. Finally, grouping. So grouping and common factoring, what you want to do is look for common factors. In the first example here, if we look at, let's pick out this term here and this term here, we have a 4 and an m common to those. Let's rewrite it then just so that they're beside each other, and then we'll write the other two terms together. So these two have a 4 and an m in common. Factoring that out is going to give us x minus 2y. And then in these two terms, a negative n is common. So if we factor that out, we're going to be left with x minus 2y. We now have a common term, so pulling that out, we have x minus 2y times 4m minus n. Sometimes these are a bit of trial and error to find the right answer. Lastly, grouping a perfect square. We got to remember if you've got a squared plus ab plus b squared, that is going to factor as a plus b all squared. Also, if you have a squared minus ab plus b squared, that will factor to a minus b all squared. What we need to recognize then in this one here is that this section mimics our general equation. Our a is going to be 2x, that is the square root of that term, and our b is going to be 3y because that is the square root of our last term. This will factor then to 2x minus 3y all squared, minus because of the minus in front of the ab term, and then minus 25. We can factor this a little bit more because we've now got a difference of squares. This will factor to 2x minus 3y minus 5 times 2x minus 3y plus 5. The last one, we need to recognize that the end of this equation is going to be our perfect square. Let's rewrite this as 25y squared minus bracket 9x squared plus 6x plus 1. This part now takes the form of our first general equation. So this will factor to 25y squared minus bracket 3x plus 1 all squared. Again, we've got a difference of squares, so we can factor this a little bit more. That's going to give us 5y minus bracket 3x plus 1 times 5y plus bracket 3x plus 1. Expanding this out and simplifying things a bit, we'd have 5y minus 3x minus 1 times 5y plus 3x plus 1.